that is our topic today, patience. What would you say patience is in art, and how does it differ from art, patience in general?
In art, I would say it's the openness to allow yourself to be able to evolve over time, screw up, fail,
Mhm.
get back up. Be patient in that course because I feel like it's a patience in a longer sense. You know, you have to be patient that in 5 years, hey, you can get better at this.
Mhm.
It's not overnight, you know. But in the general sense, I would say it's more so for other people in a way,
Mhm.
patience with other people
Mm.
and how
In
they
general
are,
or
you
in
know,
art?
in the general sense.
Mm. Okay.
In art, I feel like it's more of a personal reflection
Mhm.
of how what your patience can withstand. But in the general sense, I feel like that's just how you interact with people, your patience level on that. Because I feel like it's easy to mediate your patience by yourself. But if you're around people that are in like high stressful vibes,
That's what really tests it.
yeah, can you still be patient
Mm.
around people that are stressed out and they don't see any sign of calming down?
Mm. What do you think it is? How it plays into collaborations, patience.
Patience in the sense that they may not have the same approach or
Mm.
necessarily the same vision
Mhm.
that you may initially have started with. But the patience to see it through, maybe they do have a better idea.
Mhm.
Or just patience in the sense to make yourself better for that collaboration.
Mhm.
You know, in the way of if you are over egotistical, you start to work on mediating your ego when working with people because you want to build withstanding relationships.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that patience with collaboration kind of goes back to our episode last week as to
Mm-hmm.
self awareness, because that
Yeah.
patience kind of lets you develop that in a way, as to, like you said, you develop richer relationships that way
Mm-hmm.
whenever you open up yourself that way. How do you think patience has played into your personal artistic journey?
Giving myself time to grow.
Hmm.
I used to think that it had to happen in that moment.
That is so true.
So the patience to actually come to a point where I can accept that, hey, I can work on a project
Hmm.
and hit a point where I can't get past because, yeah, I haven't developed that certain skill yet.
Yeah.
But the patience to not get upset about it in that moment, just realize, like how we said, self awareness,
Hmm.
that you need to build upon that.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that patience allows you to trust the process more,
Mm-hmm.
let you know that it's a bigger picture rather than
Yeah.
the small situation that you're stuck in now.
Because I feel like you could focus on your small losses and make them big losses when you focus too much on them.
Mm, so true. How does it act as a teacher in that way?
I feel like self awareness and patience do kind of go together. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, they definitely collab.
for in order for either one to work, you gotta have one or the other.
Hmm.
If you don't have self awareness, I feel like
You can't have
you
patience.
you can have patience, but you're not gonna have absolute
Hmm.
patience
Have
at
you?
all.
Do you think of yourself as patient? Would you say?
No, I'm
How,
working on it, but
what
I wouldn't
makes you say
say.
that? Would you say?
In the sense of like how I brought it up a while ago,
Hmm.
you know, I can be relaxed in a how would I say, like a
high stress situation.
high stress situation, but at the same time, there's a certain point where like I boil over and I could possibly join the crowd. You know,
Mm,
I could lose it because like everybody else is losing it. I can't think.
yeah. But don't you think that's everyone, or
I feel like it's learned though. Like you
it's
have to really
to resist?
condition your mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to almost be like battle worn. You know, and
Mm.
it can't phase you. Everybody else is
Definitely.
losing it, but you could be rational
Mhm.
in that scenario. So ultimate patience, not with other people, but with yourself at that point.
So true. How would you say you get to that level?
A lot of self-reflection,
Hmm.
being aware of why you aren't patient enough, where it kind of comes from.
Mm. Yeah, I think rushing to conclusions that way.
Mm-hmm. How would you say your journey to becoming patient has been so far?
I think it's definitely had peaks and valleys,
Mm-hmm.
but what was the question?
How, how have
Say the fucking question, dude.
how has your journey how has your journey towards being patient been so far?
How has my I think it's been peaks and valleys. Well, honestly, bro, I think patience just it makes you slow down.
It
It
does.
makes you have a sense of clarity in a way to make sure that this is the right decision that you are making.
Hmm.
Because if it's the right decision, you could wait and it'll still be the right decision.
Damn. So where's the line between patience and perfectionism then? Or
Patience and
like,
perfectionism.
you know,
Mm.
uh, yeah, I'm spacing on the word, but yeah, it's like you put it off like till the very last minute. I forget what you call it.
Procrastination.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
procrastination. So where do you draw the line between patience and procrastination? Is a better
Hmm.
question.
I think you draw the line whenever you are building it rather than putting it off.
Damn.
Because I think you know whenever you're building something rather than putting it off,
Yeah.
putting off something.
True. I mean, you could lie to everybody else, but
You know
deep
it's not
down,
done, bro. You know something.
you know
Yeah.
why you're avoiding it. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say? How would you deal with the differences?
I mean, it gets real hazy because I do procrastinate a lot. But I don't know if that ties more into the self doubt aspect,
Mhm.
or is that just, hey, like I'll eventually get to it, or it's like, I don't know, if I'm comfortable enough to dive into that more so. But it all gets hazy, I'm trying to lean more towards being patient as opposed to procrastinating on something, just not doing it, or anything of that sort. Just kind of dive in, but also be able to step out and, like you said, just wait on it, let it sit, let it marinate in a way,
Mhm.
let it be natural in its ways. But
How do you think the patient? How do you view patience in your growth?
how do I do patience in my growth?
Yeah.
I feel like my patience is really what has told me that I'm growing in a way.
Mhm.
Because when I first started on this journey, I wasn't patient at all.
Mhm.
I can feel, but now I'm slowly learning, and I mean, maybe a better way of putting it would be I'm just getting a better understanding
Mhm.
how everything works,
Of your surroundings.
of my surroundings, of my personal preferences, or just how I work in general.
Your settings.
Yeah, just becoming more at peace with how everything works.
Mm.
Not just being against it, it's like kind of how, I don't know if we brought it up on the podcast or we were talking off camera, but we talked about like the boat and the waves.
Mm.
If you're not really like going with the current, you're
Yeah.
going against it.
Yeah.
You're just making it harder for you.
True.
So it does benefit you more to be patient as opposed to,
Mm.
hey, I'm just gonna push it off to the side.
Yeah. But I guess kind of going against the current would be like quote unquote failure in a way.
Mhm.
But what made you be comfortable with that? Like just finally embrace it rather than go against it.
I feel like it's worse not going into something and failing
Mm-hmm.
rather than actually failing in its basic form.
Mm.
Because you just get left with the questions if you would have failed or if you would have succeeded. At least if you failed,
What
I
if?
mean, you just know, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't get it. You can just move on.
True.
But it does take a while to get to that point. I was never just right off the bat.
Mhm.
I used to take failure very hard. Like,
Personal.
yeah, because I mean, who doesn't,
Yeah.
at some point because it sucks. But it's not like you fail your first time and you're like, oh, nice, great, and then you just like keep going. By your 10th one, you're like, God, man,
Mm-hmm.
when am I gonna ever catch a break? But it's like the patience to actually stay there and be consistent with it, and on your 30th, like your 30th try, you hit it.
Get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I think patience definitely lets you view failure not as an endpoint, but almost as a beginning in that way. Because, as you said, viewing failure as an endpoint kills dreams.
Exactly.
You just feel so discouraged, and it's like, why did I even start? But
Mhm.
any venture, I feel you're gonna come across a failure, but it's just how
Yeah.
you deal with it. I think.
It's a given, and failure is a part of the journey.
Yeah, having that patience allows you to zoom out a bit and see a bigger picture as to what am I really going for or toward
Yeah.
artistically.
Failure it brings a lot of reflection
Mm-hmm.
upon yourself. I feel like that's where you get a lot of your self awareness and your patience is within your failures.
Mm.
Because you're just learning as to, okay, well, we're not supposed to do that. Try this.
How does that play into your thinking as to feedback? Having patience in that way.
Being able to step back and see it in that regard.
As to for
As
what
to,
it is.
yeah, like it's just a random night. This guy was drunk. He came into here like,
Yeah, I think that applies to anyone really, as to you can really view it for what it is, as to be defensive about it.
yeah. Of course, if someone's like, being like rude to you in some public setting or something, like if you went to go get a coffee
Mm.
at like Starbucks or something,
Yeah.
the barista was like upset because she had to come into work today. She didn't want to work.
Yeah.
So then she was rude to you. And then you're like, wow, she just answered. What? And then you just totally put this whole identity onto this one person because like they're just mad at the moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, at some point, yeah, you don't really think that way, like especially if someone's being like aggressive towards you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think, oh, he's just having a bad
True.
day. It's just weird. Patience is like you have it, but you don't have it in key moments.
I guess it just is based on your experiences.
True.
as to what pushes your patience in that way.
Damn, you always grew up fighting
Yeah.
it. Someone tests you, you don't have no patience for them. You just automatically go into
Automatically on go mode.
it. And what in that sense, as patience is like needed in certain scenarios for people and
Mhm.
certain people it's not.
Yeah.
So in what ways would you see persistence as like a form of resistance in that way? Like where you're kind of fighting with the factor of do you be patient in this
Hmm.
scenario or
I think all those things could be a resistance to you. Just the being persistent in itself and having patience in that way. I think they can cause a challenge, but I think seeing them that way, it just lets you view patience almost as though it is a journey, almost more. It lets you view it through the lens of it being a journey rather than trying to have a finished product or goal in that way.
damn, I can see that.
How would you view
I could see it as some sometimes I would say like in the sense of your emotions are too intense
it?
maybe. So I would say that maybe at some point you could see patience being as something that could hold you back, from like, almost like suppressing your emotions in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Say if you're like real intense, you're high stress, but someone's just either someone or yourself is like, oh, you just gotta calm down.
Mm-hmm.
But it just feels like you shouldn't in that way. I would see it as a form of resistance in that way. But as for art, I would say I've had it in the sense of creating a project, and me not necessarily wanting to let it sit
Mm-hmm.
and have that room to breathe and me to come back to it. I've always had that sense of it has to be done like right now. Like I can't
Automatically.
have unfinished projects.
Kind of.
I don't
Yeah.
have the patience to come back, bro. Like I don't want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So getting in that regard, I would say it would be better to not have that resistance. Just to let it sit and be what it is.
Resistance as to.
As to, I have to make something and finish it
Mm-hmm.
in that same sitting.
Mm.
Like it has to be all realized in that one moment.
Yeah. How has your view of abandoned projects changed as to your perception of patience, as you've acquired that?
I would say I still have an issue with having unfinished projects, but
Mhm.
I guess that's just a part of me that just likes to finish things, like
Yeah.
have them done.
I feel like my view of that has changed over time because I used to feel very down about not being able to finish the project like as in a certain time period.
Yeah,
But now I kind of view unfinished projects almost as seeds or something like that, that you could come back and plant and grow and have something that already has a base identity, and you don't have to build it out completely. It's almost like a
yeah,
prompt from your former self, I view it as.
yeah, yeah.
you know
It's just little notes
hmm
that were left, and so it's like maybe we
yeah.
should check this out.
And the first time I ever was able to bring something like that to life, like that you thought was nothing,
Yeah,
I think that's what really opened my eyes as to nothing is really wasted whenever you're creating things.
damn. So how do you? how would you say you tie patience within that sense of fulfillment, like you're talking about?
Hmm. I think it kind of ties back into what we were talking about a little bit earlier as to viewing it as a big picture. And I think it kind of makes art kind of feel like that is a sense of fulfillment as to creating art is the journey itself. So that in itself is a sense of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of what I take from it. How do you feel that as to a sense of fulfillment in art in relation to?
I would say I get the sense of fulfillment from actually letting some of the projects breathe. I know I said I don't like to let them
Mm-hmm.
breathe, but in the moments that I have let them breathe, they do come out as to be being better overall. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it did need that space.
Fresh ears.
Yeah, or like a fresh perspective. You know, I just needed to come back
Mm-hmm.
maybe a couple of days later. You know, it didn't even have to be like months later or something.
Yeah, even a couple like later in the day.
Yeah, even some projects like that. You can get it done in a day. I have found that, but you do have to be patient enough to say, hey, well, I'm kind of losing my drive to
Mm.
work on it right now. Let
And
me
then you take a
step
break,
away and then come back.
start over again.
I also had to learn that. So the sense of fulfillment that you do get once you realize that, yeah, all you had to do was just sit back and relax.
And just naturally.
Like literally just let it be there, man.
Yeah, just go with the flow.
Because how do you
Go with the flow.
how do you
Hustle and flow.
how do you how do you go about the the way you tie in like patience with how do I put it? Patience with the sense of, you know, unsaid pressure or just pressure in general.
Mhm.
How do you tie in with, you know, maintaining that patience that you've learned over time?
Mm. So for real, I think it comes with being realistic, setting realistic goals, like as to don't be like I'm gonna read 200 books in 6 months or
Yeah,
you know something like that. Be realistic. I'm gonna read 2 books or
yeah. I feel like
6 months.
we've all been in that position.
You set too high of expectation or real goals, I guess, that aren't reachable, and that's gonna discourage you in that way.
So would you say that self awareness ties into that? You know, knowing what you can handle and what you can't
Mm.
handle in that regard.
Yeah, I would say so. It just ties all together. Everything's connected.
Everything all goes together.
It all has a purpose. How do you think? Oh, go ahead.
No, no, go for it.
I was gonna say, how do you think? How do you think patience plays into the ability to communicate complex ideas?
Yeah. I've I have always had an issue
Mm-hmm.
with being patient and communicating like complex ideas.
Mhm.
Just in the sense that like you always get pushback because it is complex. You gotta explain yourself and
Mhm.
articulate it so perfect that they can see it, you
Mm.
know?
I would say that's a big problem for me too. As to having that patience, as to not getting frustrated that they don't understand what you're trying to say,
Exactly. It's
because it goes both ways. Yeah.
yeah, like it's the patience to see and understand that maybe you need a different approach as to how you're telling them, how you're explaining it to
Yeah.
them.
Perhaps the language that you're speaking doesn't necessarily register with them, you know,
Exactly.
or it's not necessarily their taste.
True. how do you get that patience in that sense? You know, you can be at peace that someone doesn't necessarily want to work with you on something. Say you're reaching out for collaborations, but people are like, nah, it's just not my vibe. Like, you're just constantly reaching out.
Having patience of that rejection or what?
Yeah, with the rejection aspect.
I think it's just as to knowing what you're working towards, because I think it only takes a couple people to give you a helping hand.
Yeah.
And then you're off to the races.
It's a misconception. You need a big team.
That you need a lot of people around you to make it work, but I think you just need a couple and with a shared vision and
that drive.
Yeah, I think there's an unlimited amount that you could accomplish with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You can have the power of 6 men with 2 men if they're determined enough.
If they have the right mindset with it, yeah.
Yeah. How would you say you manage expectations between getting immediate results within your projects and the slow unfolding process of just letting them sit there, you know, giving them their time to breathe?
Accepting that there's a possibility that that's as far as it goes.
Damn, yeah. I've made the mistake of pushing it past. Pushing it past the point where it was like, no, it's just finished. And I'm like,
yeah.
Why add something?
A natural end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in a fast-paced world, where it's something that you worked on for months can just be viewed in 2 minutes, and they're like, all right, drop the next one.
Yeah. Move on. All right, drop something else. You know. Like,
yeah.
We already watched this video. We need another one. We're like, you know.
Yeah, I think in a world like that, you definitely have to have a strong sense of what it is that you're working towards. Because if not, then you'll be heavily influenced in that way. Like you're chasing something.
You'll be lost, man. You'll just be chasing everybody else's dreams.
You're chasing the dragon.
That's what they're doing, and that's what's popular. I might as well do that. Yeah. So how do you handle like the pressure of the fast-paced demands?
Fast-paced demands in a slow-paced world.
Yeah.
Damn. So true. Because I think you have to see what you value. I think, do you value fast and quick, or like thorough and quality?
Yeah.
Because you could have it fast, but it won't be good.
True. Like you didn't really put any thought into it.
True. Or it could take long, but it won't be fast.
Yeah. Damn. So what would you say is the
old construction? Old construction room.
What would you say is the better approach, though? Is it the slower process?
For me personally, I think it's the quality approach, that you have a thorough but a quality product that people could say that they affected them in some way.
Or it was worth their time. It was worth their money. You know?
Yeah, it was worth their entertainment.
Exactly.
They got some value out of it.
I agree with that. The slower process is always my process.
Yeah. Have you ever had experience with fast?
What, like a fast-paced demand?
Fast-paced lifestyle.
Fast-paced lifestyle? Not in any intense way, but I've had moments, and I have not shined very well. I'm gonna be honest. I do not work well in like a fast-paced
city.
Yeah, like
people are all shoulder checking your ass.
If I was in New York, man, you'd probably see me like getting taken by the crowds and shit.
Get out of the way.
I'm supposed to be going like that way, but like the crowd is taking me this way, you know?
Yeah.
It'd probably be me. Those, where is it, like Japan?
Hmm.
Where they have like that crossing.
No,
Where
where,
like,
everyone just runs
yes,
across.
they just go and like there's cars and shit going too. Like, I'd be like, oh my god.
What is happening?
You would notice I'm a tourist at that moment and I'd be freaking out. I'd be in the middle, like, I don't know which way.
True.
But
If that wasn't obvious enough that you were a tourist.
yeah, I'm standing out at that point, and then they'd be like, get this idiot out of the road.
Yeah, that's what would make you stand out, dude.
I'm not Asian.
Yeah, dude, you're like, yeah, dude, that's gonna make me stand out.
I mean, at some points you look at me and I look Asian, so I could possibly stand
On a scale of 1 to 10, how Asian is that? How Asian is that face?
How Asian?
Nah, that's a Mexican face, bro. Hate to break it to you.
He's always got a crap style, you know? Like, it's not.
Some people say I'm a kind of Asian, bro.
Some people say. And he's like, nah.
You don't know what people say about me.
Let's move on. This is why Lex is sad. Please buy the merch.
This is why
Cure
we
my
need to buy
sadness.
the merch, bro.
No one accepts me for who I am.
The highs and lows. But how does patience allow you to navigate those highs and lows emotionally?
When no one believes in you.
When no one believes in you, no one thinks you're Asian.
No one believes you have a certain percentage of Asian within your blood. I would say patience, over time, it has helped me navigate my lows, but not in the ways that I would want it to.
What do you mean by that?
You know, like, I can have patience to a certain extent on my lows, but then it's like, all right, like, we've had enough of this. Let's just move on, you know, type of thing. But, like, I don't have the type of patience to actually, like, kind of sit with it, process it. You know?
Yeah, you see it from a different perspective, I think.
Yeah. My highs, I would say my patience in that aspect is, you know, I try not to see it as like it's too of a high because my ego likes to hold on to it.
No.
So it's like it's a win, but it's not like an overly win. Like, hey, you're done.
That's interesting. How did you think your patience plays into your ego?
I don't think I have. Well, that's probably a lie. I do have some patience with my ego, but I don't have a lot of patience with my ego.
You have patience with your ego? They're intermingled, would you say?
Or is a better way of saying it, I have patience for my ego. Because I wouldn't say they're intermingled. Would you? Patience ties into your ego?
I thought they were different, but I think now that you're explaining it that way, I kind of think that they are like attached to each other in that way.
Build upon that. Let's dive into you.
Because I feel as though you have to grow your ego out in a healthily way, I think. Healthily?
In a healthy way?
There's another word for it. Healthily?
Healthily? I don't think.
No, I don't think that's
Let's say
right.
this.
Spanish 101.
But yeah, in that way that you need to grow to accept your ego in a way.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes patience for your ego to take form.
True. I mean, you can go from having a toxic ego in a way to having a healthy ego, or a healthy relationship with your ego, I should say.
Yeah, I think it's a thin line. How does patience play into your mental well-being?
I feel like it. I feel like it plays a big part within it
Mhm.
because if I didn't have patience, I wouldn't have a good mental well being.
Mhm.
And that being said, it's in the way of I wouldn't have the patience to accept my, as we said in the last episode, accept my faults as strengths in a way.
Mhm.
I feel like if I couldn't accept them, I would be in probably a negative state of mind
I feel that.
as opposed to working towards a more positive state of mind or
Yeah.
viewing
Frame
the
of thinking.
world. Yeah.
I feel like having a sense of patience, just in general, gives you a more stress-free life.
Yeah.
Just because you could see it from a third person perspective, and see that it's just gonna pass,
Yeah. It's something
as
that's
everything
just,
does.
yeah. It's just something that you go through, you know.
Mm.
It's not necessarily something that makes you ultimately. Well, in a way it does, but like it doesn't. I should say it doesn't hold you to that.
Mhm. What do you mean by that?
You like how we were talking about. You evolve over time.
Mhm.
You know, if you're focused on your negative parts of your craft, I mean, you're just gonna stay in that negative state. You're not gonna have a space to think that, hey, I could grow past that. Like how you said, like
Mhm.
it's just for the moment.
Yeah,
Eventually,
immediate gratification.
yeah. I feel like that's another point too, is you have to be patient enough to have a good relationship with delayed gratification
Mm.
within your art.
How are you able to have the patience to kind of slow it down a bit and not be so rushed?
Yeah.
Because I think whenever you rush, you make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I have found that when I am trying to rush through a project, like how we said a while ago,
Mhm.
you just all in one sitting, just
Yeah,
get that shit done.
you overlook a lot of the details
Yeah, as if if you came back, like you said, like an hour later,
rather than circle back to it.
and you're like, oh shit, I didn't really notice that. I was just trying to get it done. I've
Mm.
done that many a times with projects.
That is so
Just
true. Because at some point, you are just trying to get it done.
yeah, and then are you really there for the love of the project at that point, or are you feel like you're obligated to be there? Like someone has you cuffed to the desk or
Mhm.
something, like
Yeah.
I feel like you that's when patience comes into play. It's just, hey, like you're just here to have a good time.
Yeah. Do you consciously slow down the pace, or is that something that just instilled into the culture?
I would say naturally just comes into it.
Mhm.
I just hit moments of like where I'm getting too overstimulated, trying to do too much
Mhm.
at the same time, and none of it is getting done because I'm stacking too much to do.
Yeah.
So I just naturally hit a break point, and
Burnout.
during that break point, I'll hit that breakthrough that allows me to see it.
Mm.
Like how
Oh,
he
you
said,
see it.
you step back,
Oh, so you see breakthrough.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then it allows me to go back into it, come back and
Mhm.
work on it.
And view it as a new perspective.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like you have to, at times, to view your projects from like a bird's eye view.
I would say so. That's the only thing that kind of keeps you sane in a way. Because if you
Yeah,
don't, I think you just see it whenever it's bad.
yeah,
You
you're too
just,
engrossed.
yeah, you see it whenever you're in the process, it doesn't look like a finished
Yeah,
product. You have to
exactly.
trust that.
Yeah, you have to trust that You're making this for a reason.
Yeah.
I used to think that, yeah, you had to see it right off the bat.
And make the next one a little bit better. I
Mhm.
think that's how eventually you have a great product.
Yeah. And also, you build up your skills,
Mhm.
without necessarily forcing yourself to seek it out.
Because I think you're just able to recognize the problems that are happening
Mm-hmm.
and solve them a lot quicker than as if someone wasn't doing that.
Because I used to have the problem of actually actively searching for what I needed to build up, as opposed to like, hey, I made this project and I messed up in these areas.
Hmm.
I would just sit here and say, well, what am I not good at? Let's
Hmm.
like.
What's the difference?
I feel like it's better in the more natural sense, at least for me, anyways.
Mhm.
Because I feel like if I'm sitting here trying to go through a list as to what I'm bad at and what skills I need to build up, I feel like it over overwhelms me in a way
Mhm.
to where I'm like, oh my god, like there's
There's
so much
too many tasks.
I have to improve on myself, and it's a lot. How much time do I have to like split between all these. If I just notice in a project that, hey, your expression is off, be more vulnerable.
Mhm.
Little shit like that. As opposed to like, hey, you need to be more vulnerable. Look up all this shit on people. Sometimes I hit those.
Mhm.
I will say, but not all the
What do you
time.
What do you mean?
As to like, I will actually dive into it. Like,
Dive into what?
if it is like, hey, vulnerability is a skill you need to build up.
Mm.
Dive into that shit.
Yeah, I feel that because I think whenever you are improving and you identify a couple things that you can improve on,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think that's the only thing you should really focus on in that moment because I don't think you'll improve all the things that you identify in something that you can improve, but just working on a couple things and then the next time those things are improved and then you work on something else. I think eventually over time that patience for it grows into something else.
Yeah. It goes from having patience for it to having a love for it
Mm.
at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
How do you find a balance between being quote unquote perfect and quote unquote imperfect? How do you find patience within that?
I think being imperfect allows you to be less rigid.
Yeah.
By that I mean not trying to play it so cool,
Not trying to be like the
so perfect.
the tough guy
Yeah, or the cool
perspective.
guy,
Like,
the tough
yeah,
guy, or all those stereotypes. Not trying
yeah,
to fit a specific stereotype. It's just being who you naturally are.
yeah. Damn. So did it take you quite a bit of time to get to that perspective to view it that way?
I think over just growing up, I think.
Mm-hmm. Were you ever told that like a certain thing was perfect and this was imperfect?
Not naturally, but I think you're just steered that way by society, I think.
Yeah, your social constructs and shit that are
Yeah,
put there. I
yeah, the
feel that.
social contracts. But I don't think anyone was like, this is the perfect thing,
Mhm.
like that. Has that been your experience?
No, I wouldn't say any of that. Just like you said, from like the social perspective,
Mm.
just in general.
How do you go about approaching the imperfect and perfect balance?
I have kind of come around to the perspective that imperfection is perfection. We have it all flipped.
Damn. Expand into that.
Because why is it beneficial for you to fail, for you to mess up?
Why is it?
Why is it beneficial? because you end up with a positive
Mm,
at the end of it.
in a
It's
way,
an
yeah.
imperfection that's perfect in the end. But with outside view, we just view it as like, oh my god, that's horrible. Of course, because like you don't want to go through rejection, you don't want to go through all that shit, you
Yeah.
know. But in the long run, yeah, it helps you in your growth.
So true. I guess it becomes on how you view it in your perspective, because like you view a rock or something. Some people could say it's a art just because the way the rain eroded it, but some people could just say it's just the rock. It's just a messed up rock that
Yeah.
the rain messed up. You know?
Why are you picking that up? Like, why are you gonna take it with you?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's definitely based on perspective. That
Yeah. It's all in the eye of the beholder at that point.
mm.
As to what is perfect.
How do you strive for that in a way? Imperfection.
Imperfection. It's weird because I do have a problem with perfectionism,
Mm-hmm.
but how you allow it to just be imperfect is, I feel for me, anyways, is to not go into it with the initial comparison.
How do you view the relationship or the difference between patience and perseverance?
Damn, I feel like it's a very close relationship
Mm-hmm.
that patience and perseverance has. For me personally,
Mhm.
my patience allows me to persevere in a way.
Your patience allows you to persevere. That makes sense.
When I'm in my most doubtful of moments,
Mm-hmm.
my patience will allow me to get over to get over that little block in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. Like we said a
Yeah.
while ago, it kind of ties into that. It's just for the moment.
Yeah.
Don't look at the blockade and just go around.
Creative blocks pass.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, just knowing that it passes.
how do you feel? Do you feel there is a difference between them?
Honestly, for me, I feel like it is. I think patience is a bit of endurance,
Mm-hmm.
and perseverance is just the ability to keep coming back.
Interesting.
Resilience.
Damn. So you don't feel like they tie in together at
I
any
think they
moment?
definitely tie in at some moments, but I think they're different emotions. I think
Go on.
because I think perseverance is almost like attack mode, and I think patience is almost like a bit of defense.
Can we get a zoom in on that face that I just made when I realized? Editor? No.
Editor, do your fucking job.
But damn, that is interesting. Yeah. Because it is almost like perseverance. Perseverance is like a fight or flight response
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Yeah. That says like, yo, bro.
Or abandonment.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna be pushed into the mud, bro. I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
And so patience is almost like the timid, like, person in like the corner, and like perseverance is like the battle.
Well, I see it as
battle.
patience is almost as the one that's like, hi.
Oh shit.
Hi.
Oh shit. Never mind the timidness.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that Peter Griffin meme.
Yeah.
He's smoking the cigarette in that corner. He's all in the dark.
Bro.
That's your patience, guy.
Yeah.
Standing up, waiting.
Gotcha, bro.
That's been noted. I see you.
Bro. All right, we're coming up on the final question. Final question. We gotta put up a graphic for that or something.
Final question. It's got a loud ass, bright color, like bright blue neon sign going up. Final question.
how do you think the practice of patience has shaped your understanding of your creative practice?
Damn, I would say it has allowed me to get in tune with the deeper parts of myself
Mm,
in order to allow them to shine through my creative endeavors.
shine through how?
In the sense of how he said in growth wise, you know, being able to showcase more vulnerability, being more in tune with um, showcasing any emotion, not just vulnerability in the basic sense.
Mm,
Being able to actually dive into parts of myself that I don't necessarily look at in my everyday life. It's helped me understand that.
yeah, that's deep as hell.
What is what is your view on that?
I think creating art with a sense of patience has made me feel as though with each piece of art, it makes me almost have a better understanding of the grand scheme of things,
In what sense?
or a grand scheme as to meaning in my life, or meaning as to my emotional state, as to what I'm creating, the direction that the art is going
Yeah,
in. I think that way it only makes my art and my experience more rich in that way.
true.
Because patience, it allows me to view it in
Yeah,
a way that rushing through the work would only allow me to enjoy the finished product. But creating it with a sense of patience, it makes me feel as though I'm able to enjoy the whole thing, the whole process.
yeah. You not only get fulfillment at the end, you get fulfillment from the start.
But this concludes this episode of episode 43 of the Playaz Club podcast. Until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.